what I'll do, I'll just really quick, and we have Veronica on now as well. Welcome. It's just you two, so I'm just going to go ahead and take questions from you guys. I think what we'll do first is we'll just kind of go through the site-specific plan. And excuse me for touching my mask. It's not kosher, but this one falls down a lot when I talk, so I apologize.
Woe be it for me to judge people in their masks, right? I'm sitting here in my office without mine on because it's just me. But yeah,
that's perfect. I wish I had that.
And then it's like you just feel like you're sweating more underneath it too, and it's just so.
I know it's definitely uncomfortable. It's getting to the point though when I leave the house in the morning and I'm not wearing it. It's kind of like one of those did I forget my glasses? I'm starting to get used to it. Like something's not right here.
It's having an essential every day you have to take with you everywhere now.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
So I have there's that old song we taught kindergartners: head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Mm-hmm. And I saw, well, now at my age, it's wallet, glasses, keys and phone, keys and phone. So I need to add mask in there someplace too.
I love it. They can use that for the kiddos for sure. Okay, so can you guys see the site-specific, the first page of the site-specific plan right now? Okay, perfect. So as you know, this is updated. We put out an update, I think, on the 12th, and it's a couple of pages shorter than the old one. We basically took out all of the cleaning boxes and the training boxes. And instead what we're gonna do is have everybody kind of speak to each of the 30 guidelines. So each of the 30 guidelines now has a little box that you would put your information in. If you are planning on applying for a waiver, Dr. Willis is looking for specifics. He's not necessarily looking through every single school's, but he will be looking through the ones that are applying for a waiver. So instead of saying something like, yes, we do have protocols, it's more like, these are what our protocols will look like. So I'm just gonna scroll down a little bit here because we did add a little bit more information to the contact page. So you can see here, we actually asked for the school types. So if you're a traditional public school, charter school, or private. And then we also asked that you put the team members on your task force. And if I can go back up to this first page here. Number one is actually establishing a multidisciplinary task force with all different stakeholders. We find this to be extremely important to make sure that you have kind of a voice from every kind of little group of stakeholders, like parents and students and administrators and classified, especially as well. The secretaries are very important in this kind of work too. And then the second thing would be to take your task force through a site walkthrough to kind of look at all of your spaces as far as your outdoor spaces, maybe multi-purpose rooms that you can kind of use to separate cohorts, and just kind of rethinking the way that you're going to be using your space. So we do ask that you put your task force member names and positions in here. And then we also added a secondary public health liaison. So we have that first liaison, but then also a secondary one. And we're asking for the names, the email addresses, and the phone numbers of those people. And then we have, yeah, go ahead.
I've got a question about the task force. So we've been operating with a district-wide task force that has representation from each school site and then the different areas. Would we need to convene a different task force for each site? Or can we just use the same? Go ahead.
I think you could use the same task force, but you would definitely want, members that are specific to that site as well.
Okay.
So if you have a district-wide task force with teachers from maybe your elementary school and your middle school, and then you're coming to the high school, you would want to have one of those high school teachers on that specific task force.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Quick question for the same thing for the task force. You just want their name and their title?
Yes.
Okay. So
yeah, we don't need the contact. It's more just to make sure that you guys are thinking about all the stakeholders that are involved in the whole process.
And for the specific site as well, with the members for the specific site, do you want us just to list the site that they're in?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, any kind of information is going to be good on something like this for sure. because, you know, you're going to be posting this and it's going to be kind of public facing. It's going to be great for parents to be able to see that you have a plan when they're thinking about bringing their kids back to on-site instruction, as well as just like any kind of, you know, stakeholders that might be in the community as well. So the more information that you put on here, just the better.
Okay.
Let's see here. That's pretty much it here. Just have a signature on here as well from the principal or administrator for that specific site. So this would be, you know, like for the high school, it would be Adam for Bob. Veronica, which district are you from?
We're a private independent school in Mill Valley for Marin Horizons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. Awesome.
So the principal will be our head of school name, the one that puts his name and signs it, correct?
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Okay.
And then I'm just gonna kind of scroll down here. So as you can see, each of the guidelines has a little box on here. Not too much text ends up going in these boxes. So if you do have more information that you want to put in here, you can go ahead and put that into like a Word document or something like that and just attach it to the back of the plan. Okay. So I'm just trying to, I want to go through like each one really quick to see if there's any changes from the last one. Number 4, this is about the liaisons. And just so you guys know as well, the public health liaisons that are named, we're going to be doing trainings. We're going to be setting one up for next week and then hopefully another one after that, so that with Dr. Santora or Dr. Willis, so we can really talk about protocols and what they're kind of expecting from this liaison. And we'll send out a communication to all of the districts so that we can get you guys signed up for that.
Okay.
We haven't set the date quite yet. Hopefully we'll set that tomorrow. Another thing to kind of point out here is number 7. We talk about the isolation area here. And so this, you would want to actually put some detail about exactly where a student would go if they were to be isolated waiting for a parent to pick them up, and exactly what your protocols would be in that instance.
Does this isolation place need to have its own restroom?
It doesn't necessarily.
Everybody else?
I mean, ideally, yes. But ideally the parent is on their way as soon as you call them. So you wouldn't really need to worry about it too much. But that is definitely something to think about because you wouldn't want that student that's showing symptoms to be going into the restroom where the rest of the cohort is. So that is something to think about with your plans for sure.
Okay. I have a quick question regarding the health screening for our faculty and staff.
Yes.
So they have to fill out, they have to do their health screening every day, correct?
Yes.
Is temperature required?
You know, the CDC just came out with some guidance saying that it doesn't necessarily have to take the temperature. I think it's kind of up to, let's see if we can, there's one guideline about, did we miss that one already? Let's see here. Yeah, so at this point, the temperature taking is not required. We are still going to be doing it for our, we did temperatures for our pilots and for our extended school year programs in the summer with our special ed students. And I think we're going to continue to do it just as a safety precaution, but I don't think it's required.
Okay. One of the things I've read about that is that it ends up being one of the least reliable indicators. Especially, you know, for schools, we're going to have kids that might skateboard to school, kids that might ride their bikes. You know, we take their, if they got a beanie on, we take their temperature, it's going to show like 106, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and so if we, but there's other 4 questions that I read about, that I understand MCOE is using. I've just read that those are more aligned to, or more, I found to be more predictive.
Yeah, and you know, and we're really, if you look at guideline number 6, it has a little bit more about the health screenings. And the CDC says that we can actually do passive screening. So that would mean that the parents would do the screenings at home. And just with, you know, the idea that, you know, if your kid is sick, they're staying home and they're not coming to school. And that also helps set up those expectations with the parents so that they know, like, hey, if your kid develops symptoms in the middle of the day, like, you need to come pick your kid up as soon as possible. So that's kind of what we're doing here in Marin. If you look at the guideline number 6, it has a little bit more information on that. And then we do have a staff health screening that here at the MCOE office, there's 2 questions. One is, are you having symptoms? And the other one is, have you been in close contact, or do you have any family members that have tested positive for COVID? And if you click on this, it takes you to that sample, those sample questions that you can use for your staff as well.
During our summer pilot program with our little kids, we did health screening as well every day. Is that, can you confirm, is that still required for this upcoming school year, or we're just letting the parents do that self-assessment at home?
We're letting the parents at this point. I mean, you can, any school or district can go above and beyond and do it in person. But the logistics of it, of all of those kiddos showing up in school and having to do the health screening plus any kind of, temperature taking, if that's what you choose to do, it tends to be extremely time consuming. But so you can see here, right here in the number 6, it says the guidance on screening, emphasizing that parents and caregivers should monitor their children for the sign of infectious illness every day at home and do the universal symptom screening. And the universal symptom screening for K-12 students is not required. So it's not required for you to do it through our local public health jurisdiction, but you can if you want to do it. The way that we kind of did it for our special ed classes over the summer is the parents would do the screening at home, and our secretaries would look to see if they filled it out, and if they didn't, they would call the parent to confirm. But the parents started to get used to it. So they would pick up the phone and be like, oh, I forgot, I'm on it, I'm doing it right now. So that's a way to kind of get around doing it in person.
Okay.
And you have record of it as well, which is nice.
Okay.
We have number 8 here about testing. So if you are, I believe if you are a private school, you are applying for a waiver, you need to have kind of a testing plan set. And we can go over, that's on the waiver guidelines, the information on the waiver guidelines, but that's only if you're applying for a waiver. But it is good if you're looking for doing staff or students. It's not necessary to do the students, but if you would want to try to do the staff, it would be good to kind of link up with a vendor and see if they can kind of come to your site maybe once every 2 months, and then you can kind of get all those staff tested.
And then it's not requirement, but it's safe to say that the teacher should get tested maybe once a month?
I think what Dr. Willis said, he wants 50% of your staff to get tested every other month. So it's basically every other month. So you have testing set up once a month, and half of your staff does once a month, and then half of the staff does the other half. So it's kind of like a rotating scale, but it wouldn't be every single month. And it's, it is not required by any means. You can't make a staff member or teacher, go get a test.
Okay, it's not required, but recommended.
Yeah. And hopefully they're coming up. All the vendors will have the non-nose test, the nose scraping test. I don't know if you guys have had one before.
I was talking to a few vendors and they were saying that they were doing like a mouth swab and everything.
I'm all in for that. That would be great.
Having 5 seconds in one nostril, 5 seconds in the other nostril.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not pleasant for sure. Okay, so next up, we just have the protocols here that are set in place from public health and kind of our experiences from the pop-ups and from summer school. This just goes into physical distancing. 2 small changes here. So we added the language between adults and adults. So it's 6 feet is between adults and adults, and then 4 feet is permissible when students are in a classroom or instructional area. So it used to be 4 to 6 feet, but now it's permissible to have just the 4 feet. So that is one small change there. Let's see here. These are all the same. This is just about desk arrangement, cohorts, entry, arrivals. And again, the schedules for arrivals will be a lot easier when you're not having to stop each student to ask them, the health questions and take their temperature. So that hopefully will be a little bit easier to kind of organize. This all remains the same from the original guidelines. This all remains the same. Masks are grades 3 through 12. Students TK through a second are strongly encouraged to wear face coverings and also to kind of use curriculum to support how to kind of teach them how to wear them properly. And there's a lot of great resources out there on how to do this. This is face covering, shared stuff. This is all the same. And then I just wanted to show you this last page here. Through Marin Recovers, they created the business site specific plan. And they asked that all the businesses actually tape the entire plan to the outside window of their office, which can get a little bit cumbersome when you're putting up 15 pages. So we actually created this certificate. So basically what you can do is you put your school name in here and you put your web address where this is going to be kind of housed on your website. Because it should be on the website so that the public can view it. And then you only have to put this last page up here. So hopefully that'll make it a little less tape that you'll have to use. Do you guys have any more questions specifically on the site specific plan? If not, we can look at the waiver application.
What is the expectation about when we would have this all up and out and vetted by everyone?
I would say in an ideal world before staff's on campus, but that's happening now, so that's okay. But definitely before students are on campus.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that was in my mind since it's really student driven.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna pop over here to actually I'm gonna show you the website really quick so you guys can see a couple things. So this is our Rethinking Schools website. I'm gonna just put it in the chat box for you guys. So we actually have the comprehensive school resource document here, and that has our kind of our final guidelines. It's 30 guidelines, substitutes, transportation, all sorts of really awesome information in there. So that's this document here. And then the waiver application. And then for the site-specific plan, we actually have the recording when we went over the updates for the 30 guidelines with Dr. Willis and Dr. Santora, and that's a recording here. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest going back and listening to them because they, you know, from a public health point of view, it's really great to hear, you know, what they have to say and why they change things. Okay, so waiver process. So we have kind of an overview and all sorts of information about the waiver process as stated from the state. Here you can see all of these bullet points. These are all really important to take a look at, especially kind of the requirements surrounding testing. And again, this is only specific to applying for a waiver. But we do have specific information about testing and setting up a testing site or finding a company to support you with testing. Another thing that I wanted to point out here is, oh, here we go. There is a 50-word overview that you will need to put on the application. So that's a little bit more text that you'll have to kind of think about when you are filling out the application, in addition to the site-specific plan. And the site-specific plan should be attached to the waiver application when you submit it, if you are submitting. Here we kind of have the timeline here. So basically what we're doing is we're taking every application that was received by 5 o'clock on Wednesdays, and then we start the review from there. And then the following Friday, if you are approved, Dr. Willis will send that to the state. And then, so if you are able to get your application in before 5 o'clock this Wednesday and everything goes well, then the permissible start date would be September 8th, which is what we're kind of shooting for. And again, we can't go back before September 8th anyway, because of the update that Dr. Willis had put out, I think on July 17th. So this is
excuse me, so I'm just trying to operationalize that a little bit. So it's looking like it's about 3-week turnaround from submission to being able to have kids in small groups?
I would say more like 2, because you're going to find out about it, but the permissible start date will be like a week out. So the total process, yes, but you'll know sooner than that. It's not like we're going to call you at 7 o'clock on September 8th and be like, hey, you're good to go. So you'll have a couple days to kind of get everything
that is
ready.
So not COVID-like right now.
Yeah, right.
This, if we're approved to open, I think we're aiming for the 14th. If we're approved to open then everything should be okay, unless there's another spike that happens and the Department of Health says, no, we can't, even if we have an approved waiver, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think there's real, no parameters have been set for that, but there is going to be, there could be a situation where we get the waivers going and then we have a spike and then public health says, no, we need to like shut everything down. So, all of this has to do with us in Marin doing our part, wearing our masks, you know what I mean? Like making sure that we're following all these health and safety protocols so that we're not, kind of spreading it within our community. So it really does kind of go back to home and what you're doing in your off time as well. And start so that we can kind of think about hopefully getting off that watch list.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so this is all really kind of self-explanatory. It's just all your contact information, what type of school. Here, you can see there is a spot to put your testing vendor if applicable. And again, that goes back to that bullet point about testing in kind of like the guidelines at the top here. If you do need to have testing. So it depends on if you're a private or public district or school.
Okay.
And then here you can put in the 500 words. Let's say you have 500 words and it doesn't fit in this box. Again, you can just attach it to the back of the document, just put it in a Word document and you can attach it to the back. This talks about consultation with both labor and parent organizations. You have to put which organization you consulted with and the dates. If you don't have a labor organization, if you're a small private school, then you just have to put an explanation about, how you kind of communicated the protocols and stuff to those stakeholders.
And for example, that would be like our board, since we're a private independent school, that would be like our board, our parent association, and a group of teachers that we've decided.
Yeah, for sure. That would be perfect. If you don't have a union, just as long as you're talking to kind of some teacher leaders and making sure that they have some sort of kind of, say in what you're doing and how you're doing it. And then I think this is the last question here. This is a question about equity. So I would just, kind of read through all of this and you just have to put in some information and speak to that. Let's see here. And then we just have a sign off page here. So basically the process, if you are applying for a waiver, is you would submit a waiver to this email address here, publichealthwaiver@marinschools.org. We would look at it for completeness. If it is not complete, we'll send it back to you so that you can complete it and get that back, and that would kind of start your clock again. So let's say it's not complete, we send it back to you, and then you get it back to us on a Thursday, you would actually go into the next week's kind of batch. And then from there, we send it off to public health, and public health views it and judges it on, on the merits and decides if you do or do not get a waiver. From there, all the approved ones go to the state and we wait for them to approve. Because it takes so long sometimes for the state to get back to us, they actually set up a rule that if you don't hear back from the state within 3 days, consider it approved. And so that's kind of built into this timeline right here. So the 3-day state review response window. So I'm not sure that we really expect the state to get back to us unless they see something that is just a major red flag, and then they would get back to Dr. Willis on that. So once we find out about that 3-day window, we would notify you on your waiver application status, either approved or not, and let you know your permissible start date. And that's the process.
Okay, That was very helpful.
And just to be clear, this is still only K-6 for waivers.
Yeah,
correct?
it's only K-6. And, you know, I know a lot of middle schools, it's a little frustrating, but at the same time, it's kind of a good way to get only a third of your students back on campus. Only figuring out, arrival routes and all of that kind of stuff. It's kind of nice to only have a certain amount of students so you can figure that all out before we're all allowed to come back and have all 3 grades. So it could be kind of a blessing in disguise.
One of our thoughts about it is if we were to target to start bringing students back, we're thinking either our kids that have limited internet access, we have quite a few. And that is a K-12 issue, not just a K-6. But we don't get to make the rules on that, right? And then the other is the looking perhaps at our students with IEPs. And again, we've got, that's a K-12 experience, not a,
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, we'll deal with what we've got to deal with there.
And I don't know, Bob, if you saw that on Friday, I believe, the state public health, California Department of Public Health actually put out some guidance saying that special education, I'll try to find the article and send it to you, but I believe special education automatically gets the waiver because we're going to be able to run our MCOE special education programs.
I heard that in what the governor said on Friday, and I would like to look at that because part of my thinking when I heard him was that he was talking about more severely handicapped students and not just not the whole range, but I'd be interested to see how that washed out because that'd be wonderful.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll look that up for you and send that along.
That's great.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Do you guys have any other questions?
Yeah, for the certificate of completion, since we have a child care facility that's going to be starting next week, do we need to have that up for them before they start, or?
Not specific to childcare. I would ask the Marin Child Care Council if they have any kind of, I don't know if they have like a site-specific plan specific to childcare or not, but it's possible. So they might have kind of like a similar thing to this to represent, like their protocols and all of that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up now unless you guys have any other questions.
Yeah, this is very, very helpful. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. All right. You guys have a really great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.